Welcome to On Component Hit event in 4.12. What we're going to do here is intercept a hit event between the tracks and the ground so that we can in future use it to prevent the tank from trying to apply a force when it's in the air. So let's have a look at it. So we're doing much better. The tank isn't sliding sideways now, but notice this. If I drive the tank off the ground, look, when it's in the air, it goes nuts. Why is it going so nuts? That's because we're still applying a driving force even though we're not in contact with the ground. That's kind of crazy. So the mission here is to stop applying a force unless we're in contact with the ground. Now, let's use Blueprint to mock this up initially. First thing we need to do for this to work is both of the left and the right tracks need to have under the collision section of the tank blueprint the simulation generates hit events checkbox ticked. Without that, they will not generate any hit events to detect. Now, let's just go to one of the tracks. You don't need to do this bit. I'm going to undo this bit of Blueprint. Follow me if you like. I'm going to click the event. Now, by the way, if you select both tracks, you won't get the events list. So you have to select one track or the other. When you select one or the other, you get the events list at the bottom of the details tab. Click plus, and then we can just print straight off this and just see what we're trying to do in C++ here in Blueprint first. So we could just say on ground. We could even say left track on ground. On ground, there you go. So let's compile and play. Provided those simulation generates hit events checkboxes are set, there you go. We can see that the left track is indeed on the ground and it's logging away. Cool. So that's very easy in Blueprint, but we are growing up and we don't want to be using Blueprint. We want to be using C++. So I'm going to get rid of that and play the game, and there they go. So how do you do it in C++? How do we get access to this on hit event? Well, there's a bit of controversy over this right now with version 4.12. If you try searching the web for on component hit Unreal 4.12, you'll find that people really not sure how to do it. And that's because they've changed stuff and they haven't documented what they've changed, bless them. I'm sure they will at some point, but right now it's not clear. So how do you find out what you should be doing here to register this? Well, we've got the source code. That's the saving grace. So if you go on component hit, which is the event which we found the name out of from the blueprint, what we can do there is we can right-click it and go to the definition. Yet again, we're diving into the source code, this time of the primitive component. And it has this event, which is of type fComponent hit signature. Let's go to the definition of that. I'm not necessarily expecting you guys to be able to do this, but the point is that I want to give you an awareness of how we, with a lot of help from Sam, so me and Sam found out how to get this signature. So you get here and you see a macro, and if you look at that macro, it's a bit odd because we have commas between the types and their actual names of these variables. Ignore the first bit. We have a uPrimitive component pointer called hit component. We have an aActor pointer called other actor. We have a uPrimitive component pointer called other comp. How that translates to how you should actually use it is as follows. I've written a slide for you. This is how to register for on hit events in C++ in Unreal 4.12. Okay, firstly, we register the delegate at begin play. We're going to need to put a begin play back in. And we use that syntax. On component hit.addDynamic, this, and then the delegate name of the method. So it's ampersand for address of utank track colon on hit. That tells it where to go and find the method when this event gets triggered. Then you use this signature for the delegate itself. It looks nasty, but it's the thing that I found in the source code, right? Without all the commas. It's on hit, uPrimitive component pointer, hit component, aActor pointer, other actor, and so on. So you write an on hit method called that. But what is important is that you make it a private U function. That way, the on hit event will actually work. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just challenge you to actually do this. I want you to register for on hit inside C++. Use the instructions on the previous slide. I'll even leave them up for the challenge if I remember. Ensure that both tracks have the following set in Blueprint. The collision simulation generates hit events, otherwise it will all go terribly wrong. And then test that it works with a log entry. And then when you've done it and it works, arms in the air and celebrate being one of the first people in Unreal 4.12 to get that working. So I'm just going to dive back now and leave that on the screen, which is your recipe. Try and dig in, try and work out how it works. I know it'll be ambiguous to some of you and very clear to others, but whole range of abilities on this course. So go ahead, pause the video and get that puppy working now. Okay, welcome back. I'm actually going to use some of the stuff straight off my slide. Why would I retype it? That would be nuts. So I'll come out into the slide deck. Then I'm going to go to the... Well, I need begin playback firstly, don't I? So we know how to do that, don't we? We've done this 100 times. It's a load of fun, isn't it? Begin play. There we go. So that almost brings begin play, but because it's C++, and we love C++, don't we? We have to go over into the header file and type virtual, because that's what it is in the parent class. We have to type void, because that's what comes back. We have to type begin play, because that's the name of the method, and we have to type override, because we're anal. And we want to make sure that we are overriding a method in the parent class with exactly that signature. Perfect. Now we have begin play. And we can say on component hit.addDynamic. By the way, it won't complete the add dynamic properly because something about the way the state of the source code at the moment is preventing that from working, but this will work. On component hit.addDynamic, that's what we want. So that's the first bit of the recipe. In begin play, we subscribe to this event. Okay, what's the next bit of the recipe? A big old on hit event. Now, I didn't tell you whether it should be void or what it should be. I didn't even write void for begin play. There you go. So it should be void, and it needs a class name. And then we have all that stuff, which I've pasted in, which you can get from the slides or from my repo. Okay, so no semicolon, but a pair of squigglies. And inside the squigglies, I'm just going to simply say UE log temp, warning, text. And then we're just going to say I'm hit, exclamation mark, because I'm very immature. Okay, so then once we've got that, then we need to go ahead and declare this as well inside our header file, of course. So how are we going to do that? Well, we go to the header file, go to the private section. I'm going to do it after begin play and probably after tick. I like to keep begin play and tick together. Paste in the method, take away the class name, put a semicolon on the end, and finally, where's semicolon? Can't see my keyboard, microphone's in the way. And this needs to be a U function because of Unreal Magic. Okay, great. Let's go ahead and compile this and see where we are. While it compiles, I will show you confidently what I've done here in the source control. I've added the begin play back in. I've added in that signature which I shared with you, which we found from the source code as a U function. And then in the track.sup, I have registered. That's a bit weird. It's got confused. What have I done? Have I done something silly? Yes, I think I've left something silly in the constructor. Looking at the source control, of course I have. I shouldn't be saying on component hit in the constructor. So let's just refresh the source control. And what I have done here, without the, I need to save that file. There you go, let it refresh. Good. So in begin pay, we register for the event, and then we use that same method, and then we simply print something out. Anyway, did it compile? It won't have done because I left some code in the constructor that I shouldn't have left. So now, hopefully, it will compile. By the way, I'd like to know in the discussions, which means over on community.gamedev.tv/Unreal, what you think about me showing you the code I've just written in source control while we wait for compilation. Is that helpful or does it suck? Just let me know. That would be really helpful. Or perhaps it would suck. Okay, so here we go. The tracks are on the ground and we have lots of I'm hit, hits, which is cool. We have now got collision events actually triggering off inside C++. But I would say that's a pretty good outcome for this lecture. So there is your recipe left on the screen for how we use these on hit events. And in the next video, we'll get on and actually make the tank not apply a force when it is on the ground. So see you in there.